February 1945. The cold seeps through every crack of the Berlin bunker, curling around the boots of soldiers and the trembling shoulders of the women who serve behind the lines. Among them is Liesel Vogel, barely 20, her hair pulled tight, eyes wide with the weight of secrets she barely understands. She moves silently through the corridors, her uniform crisp, the iron cross pinned to her chest by some invisible mandate of fear. Outside, the city groans under the relentless roar of Allied bombers, fires spreading like veins through the streets, smoke climbing into a gray, suffocating sky. Inside Hitler's inner sanctum, every whispered command carries the gravity of a nation's collapse. Liesel watches from the shadows as generals argue over troop placements and scorched earth strategies, their faces etched with tension and doubt. She knows too much more than she should, and every glance from an SS officer carries a silent threat. The Führer sits at the end of a long table, eyes hollow, hand trembling over maps of a Germany that is bleeding from every front. Liesel's heart pounds when she overhears the words, "The Americans will be at our gates within weeks." She retreats to the small room she shares with other women, their conversations hushed, each word a fragment of fear. "Do you think?" one whispers, but no one finishes the question. Liesel swallows her own terror, knowing that any expression of doubt is a risk. The walls themselves seem to listen. Outside, the muffled thud of artillery reminds her that the world beyond these corridors is crumbling, while within, power and paranoia twist together in a deadly dance. A sudden shout echoes through the hallway, and Liesel freezes. A soldier collapses outside the door, clutching his chest, eyes wild. Panic flares, but she stays hidden, watching as others move cautiously, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. She realizes that survival is not just about avoiding bullets. It is about navigating lies, betrayal, and the unbearable weight of secrets that, if revealed, could change everything. The women whisper of horrors seen, of orders carried out, of faces once familiar now marked by fear and complicity. Liesel's mind races. How much can she expose without becoming a target herself? She knows what she has witnessed: documents hidden, conversations overheard, moments of cruelty recorded in memory, and she understands that the world will never forgive or understand the truth of what happens here. A knock at the door startles her. Footsteps approach. Someone is coming, someone who might see through her silence. She grips a folded report in her hands, a lifeline and a risk all at once. The knock at the door comes again, sharper this time, echoing off concrete walls. Liesel's pulse races. She presses herself against the shadowed corner, breath shallow, fingers clutching the folded report as if it could anchor her to safety. The door creaks open, revealing Oberst Karl Richter, a man whose loyalty to Hitler is matched only by his cold suspicion. His eyes sweep the room, lingering on the other women before settling on Liesel. "Vogel," he says, voice low, deliberate. "You were near the briefing room this morning. Did you see anything unusual?" Liesel forces calm, every muscle taut. "No, Herr Oberst," she murmurs, voice barely above a whisper. But Richter tilts his head, sensing her hesitation. In his gaze, she sees the razor-sharp logic of a man trained to detect deceit. The silence stretches, oppressive, until he steps closer, fingers brushing the report peeking from her sleeve. Outside, Berlin is burning, the thunder of artillery closer now, shaking the foundations of the bunker. The distant cries of soldiers and civilians blend with the rumble of collapsing buildings, a reminder that the world above is no longer their own. Liesel's mind flashes to the documents she has memorized: names, locations, orders, proof that could topple lives and perhaps even regimes. "Vogel," Richter repeats, sharper this time. "Don't play games." His tone is both threat and promise. Liesel swallows, nodding, knowing that one false word could end her here. As he turns to leave, the tension in the air doesn't dissipate. Instead, it coils tighter, wrapping around her chest like iron. Hours later, Liesel wanders the bunker halls under the guise of routine, her eyes scanning the shadows for familiar faces or enemies in disguise. She passes a room where women huddle together, their whispered conversations fragmented, rumors of secret trials, disappearances, and the Führer's growing paranoia. One of them, a nurse named Gretel, glances at Liesel, her expression a mix of fear and pleading. "Be careful what you write down," she warns, voice trembling. "They are watching, always watching." The bunker feels less like a command center and more like a cage. Every corner conceals danger, every conversation a trap. Liesel recalls an earlier briefing, where a general had muttered under his breath about surrender negotiations, a dangerous word in a place where loyalty is life itself. The knowledge burns in her mind like a torch in the darkness. To survive, she must balance obedience with caution, secrecy with the faintest glimmer of truth. Suddenly, the distant roar of an explosion shakes the walls, dust falling from the ceiling. The lights flicker, plunging the corridors into brief shadows. Liesel's stomach knots. The war is no longer abstract, it is here, pounding at the doors of the bunker, unstoppable. And yet, inside, a different battle rages, the one fought in whispers, glances, and unrecorded acts of courage and fear. The explosion shakes the bunker again, louder this time, and a tremor runs through Liesel's spine. She presses herself against the wall, listening to the echo of collapsing structures above, the distant screams and shouts blending into a terrifying rhythm. Berlin is dying outside and inside. Paranoia spreads faster than the fires consuming the streets. Every glance feels loaded, every footstep a potential threat. Hours pass. Liesel moves carefully through the narrow corridors, delivering messages for officers, pretending to be nothing more than a dutiful aide. But each note she carries could ignite a chain reaction. Each overheard word could be her undoing. The women whisper about the Führer's temper, how even high-ranking officers vanish without explanation, swallowed by suspicion and the suffocating machinery of war. Liesel thinks of the reports she has memorized, the names, the strategies, the crimes, and the weight of it presses on her like lead. In the officers' mess, she sees General Erich Hopner, a man rumored to question Hitler's plans. He mutters about the futility of resistance, about surrender negotiations, before catching Liesel's eyes. A flicker of recognition passes between them, a shared understanding that survival may mean bending truths, hiding knowledge, and making impossible choices. Liesel nods subtly, careful to avoid any sign of alliance. Yet inside, her mind races. How much can she trust him? How many are watching? Back in her quarters, Gretel hands her a scrap of paper, a note hastily written. Do not be alone in the West Wing tonight. Someone is looking for you. Liesel's stomach tightens. The West Wing, the area where Hitler occasionally meets select advisors, is heavily guarded. Yet rumors claim even the guards cannot always be trusted. She feels the walls closing in. The whispers in the bunker now sharper, more urgent. Every shadow could hide a betrayer. Every corridor could be a trap. Night falls, and the bunker becomes a labyrinth of fear. Liesel knows she cannot remain passive. Knowledge in her hands is power, but power here is lethal. She slips quietly toward the West Wing, heart hammering, listening to the distant rumble of allied artillery above and the almost imperceptible shuffling of boots nearby. A light flickers in the corner, a figure waiting, patient, calculating. Liesel's breath catches. She must decide, confront, flee, or pretend ignorance. Each choice carries the potential for survival or death. As she steps closer, a shadow detaches from the dim light. Liesel freezes, realizing that the eyes watching her are not strangers, not random officers, but someone who knows exactly what she knows. And in this moment, every secret she has kept, every observation she has made, hangs on a knife's edge, threatening to tip the balance of her fate. The shadow moves closer, and Liesel's heart hammers so violently she fears it will betray her. The figure emerges into the flickering light. It is Oberst Richter. His face is unreadable, a mask of suspicion and cold calculation. Vogel, he says quietly, you are far too curious for your own good. The words are gentle, almost polite, but they carry the weight of a guillotine waiting to fall. Liesel swallows, forcing calm. I only follow orders, Herr Oberst, she says, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Richter tilts his head, eyes narrowing, scanning every subtle movement, every flicker of emotion. He steps closer, and she notices the faint scar above his brow, a reminder that even the loyal are not untouched by war. The bunker seems to hold its breath, as though aware that one wrong word could shatter everything. Orders, he repeats, voice low, almost a growl. Orders are meaningless if the wrong people see them. You have seen things, Vogel. You know things, and knowledge, in this place, is deadly. Liesel's pulse quickens. She knows he is right. She has memorized files she should not have touched, observed conversations that were never meant for her ears, and now every secret she carries is a weapon that could destroy her or save her. Suddenly, an alarm bell shatters the tense quiet. Red lights flash, warning of incoming Allied bombers. The bunker shudders under the shockwave of distant explosions. Officers and soldiers scramble, shouting, ducking, and firing orders across the halls. In the chaos, Liesel's instincts kick in. She clutches the report to her chest and retreats into a narrow maintenance corridor. Weaving through pipes and shadows, heart pounding, she pauses, listening to the chaos, realizing that outside forces are no longer just a threat, they are closing in. But inside, the real danger is subtler, more insidious. Every glance from an officer, every whispered conversation, could mean betrayal. She hears footsteps behind her, faster, deliberate. Someone is following. Panic rises, but Liesel forces herself to breathe slowly, calculating every step. In the world of Hitler's inner circle, survival is not about courage alone, it is about deception, timing, and the ability to read human fear. Ahead, a door leads to a small storage room. She slips inside, pressing herself against the wall as the footsteps approach. A voice murmurs her name. Liesel's mind races. Should she confront, hide, or risk escape into the labyrinthine corridors of the bunker? Every decision is a gamble. Every move could be her last. Outside, the rumble of bombs and the distant crackle of gunfire remind her that the city above is falling, but the city below, within these walls, is just as deadly. Liesel presses her back into the cold, concrete wall, listening to the echo of hurried boots. The voice calling her name is gone, but she knows the danger hasn't vanished, only shifted. The bunker is alive with tension, officers shouting orders, the metallic clang of doors, the distant rumble of artillery. Every sound is a potential threat, every shadow a possible enemy. She clutches the report, aware that in the wrong hands, its contents could ignite executions or worse. She slips into a narrow stairwell, the iron steps slick with condensation and fear. Thoughts swirl in her mind like the smoke from the fires above. Names she has memorized, conversations overheard, orders that could unravel the chain of command. She knows that the Führer's paranoia is growing, and with every mistake or perceived mistake someone disappears. Liesel's survival depends on being invisible, yet she carries knowledge that could shift the balance of power inside these walls. At the top of the stairwell, she pauses. The faint glow of a lantern reveals General Hopner, pacing, muttering under his breath about the hopelessness of their situation. He hasn't noticed her yet. Liesel hesitates. Should she approach him, attempt to gauge his intentions, or retreat into the labyrinth below? Every choice is fraught. She can feel the weight of the bunker pressing down, thick with smoke, fear, and whispered secrets. A sudden scream pierces the air. One of the young clerks, a boy barely 18, has been caught rifling through classified documents. Officers storm toward him, dragging him into the shadows. Liesel's stomach knots. The scene is a reminder that even the smallest act of curiosity or loyalty is a risk too great. She tightens her grip on her own documents, the weight of what she knows suddenly heavier than ever. A shadow detaches from the far corner of the room. Oberst Richter. He stops, scanning the stairwell, sensing movement. Liesel freezes, realizing she has been spotted. The general's pace falters, his attention caught elsewhere. But Richter's gaze finds her. For a heartbeat, time suspends itself. Then, without a word, Richter turns and disappears down another corridor, leaving Liesel to question whether he has seen her or merely sensed her presence. The uncertainty is almost worse than discovery. It gnaws at her from the inside, coiling fear with adrenaline. Liesel retreats to a forgotten maintenance hatch and descends into the underbelly of the bunker. Pipes hum, the air is thick with damp, and every creak of the floor above feels like the approach of doom. She pauses to catch her breath, heart hammering, and realizes that her knowledge is no longer just dangerous, it is lethal. And in the quiet, shadowed tunnels, she whispers to herself a single, terrifying truth. She cannot trust anyone. Not officers, not generals, not the women who share her quarters. Survival means secrecy, cunning, and a willingness to act when the walls of the bunker threaten to close forever. The tunnels wind endlessly beneath the bunker, narrow and suffocating, and Liesel moves like a shadow, careful not to disturb a single pipe or loose tile. Every echo of her footsteps feels magnified, every breath a risk. She knows that above, the inner circle of Hitler's regime is growing restless. Suspicion is a blade, and she cannot afford to be caught in its swing. She pauses near a junction where several maintenance corridors intersect. A faint murmur drifts through the walls, voices she recognizes. Officers arguing quietly about troop placements and the possibility of surrender. Liesel presses herself into the shadow, straining to hear. The words confirm her fears. Some in the bunker have begun to question orders, to doubt the Führer's judgment. Knowledge of this could be both a shield and a weapon, but only if wielded with extreme caution. As she creeps forward, she finds a small alcove where documents have been carelessly stacked, a forgotten briefing left behind in the chaos of the bombing. Her pulse quickens. Names, locations, and strategic plans leap off the papers, each detail more dangerous than the last. She memorizes what she can, hiding the originals beneath her coat. Liesel's mind races. Every piece of information she carries could be used to protect herself, to influence outcomes, or to ensure her survival when the bunker finally collapses around them. A sudden clatter makes her freeze. Someone is coming. The footsteps echo through the corridor, slow and deliberate. Liesel retreats into a narrower passage, pressing against the cold stone wall, trying to make herself invisible. Through the dim light, she sees Oberst Richter again, this time with a junior officer in tow. They move methodically, inspecting the tunnels, their expressions sharp and wary. The officer glances at the scattered documents. Liesel's heart pounds. If they notice what she has taken, her life is over. She waits, silent, barely breathing, as Richter's voice carries faintly through the tunnel. Keep looking. Someone has been moving these papers. I want names. I want proof. No mistakes. Liesel clenches her fists. Proof. Names. Every whisper in the bunker could lead to death. And yet, somewhere in the chaos, there is opportunity. Knowledge is power, and if wielded correctly, it could allow her to escape or at least survive until the war's end. The footsteps fade. Liesel exhales slowly, shaking, sweat cold on her forehead. She knows the next hours will demand precision, courage, and cunning unlike anything she has faced. Above, the bunker continues to shake from bombardment. Below, the tunnels twist like veins, carrying secrets and dangers in equal measure. Liesel grips the folded report tightly, a lifeline in a place where loyalty is fleeting and survival is everything. Tonight, she has survived, but the shadow of discovery is always close, and the next misstep could be final. Liesel pauses at the junction of two dimly lit corridors, every nerve screaming with anticipation. She knows Richter is still searching, his presence a constant, suffocating weight. The tunnel ahead opens into a small storage chamber, crates stacked high with rations and documents. She slips inside, pressing herself against a wall, heart hammering. A sudden movement catches her eye, shadow shifting between the crates. Liesel freezes, realizing she is not alone. Another figure emerges, Gretel, the nurse she has come to trust in, whispers. Gretel's face is pale, eyes wide with fear. Liesel, she whispers, they're onto you. I overheard Richter talking. You need to move, now. The words send a chill down Liesel's spine. The enemy is not just outside the bunker, or in the city above. Inside. In these shadowed corridors, suspicion is lethal. She glances at the documents in her hands. Knowledge could save her or condemn her. A sudden blast shakes the bunker, dust raining from the ceiling. The distant sound of artillery punctuates the claustrophobic stillness, reminding her that time is running out. Together, Liesel and Gretel slip through the maze of tunnels. Every step is measured, careful, as if a single misstep will bring the walls down on them. Gretel glances over her shoulder. They're watching the stairwells. You'll need to use the old maintenance shaft. Liesel nods silently, fear and resolve warring in her chest. She knows she cannot afford hesitation. Every second in the open is a gamble, and the longer she lingers, the closer Richter gets to discovering the truth she guards. They descend into the narrow shaft, the metal ladder slick and rusted, each rung threatening to betray them with a loud screech. Liesel's fingers ache, her pulse thundering in her ears. She thinks of the documents, the names, the orders she has memorized. They are her lifeline and her potential death sentence. If anyone learns she holds them, the consequences will be immediate, brutal. At the bottom, a narrow crawl space leads to another section of the bunker, one almost forgotten in the chaos of collapsing walls and fire above. Liesel peeks into the passage, dim light revealing a faint silhouette, a soldier, hunched over maps, unaware of the intruders. Liesel freezes, realizing the opportunity and risk simultaneously. She could intercept information here, gain an advantage, but a single misstep could alert the soldier and Richter and turn survival into execution. Gretel whispers, decide quickly. They're close. Liesel nods, inhaling sharply. The weight of her choices presses down, the air thick with fear and determination. Every decision here could alter the course of not just her life, but the fragile world of secrets teetering within Hitler's inner circle. And as footsteps echo above, closer than ever, Liesel knows one thing for certain. Tonight, she will either find a way to survive or the walls will claim her. The crawl space opens into a small antechamber, dimly lit by a single flickering lantern. Liesel and Gretel pause, listening. Footsteps above have grown louder, closer, deliberate, heavy with authority. Somewhere in the distance, the bunker shudders as another bomb strikes Berlin. The city outside is burning, and within, fear moves like a predator through the corridors. Ahead, a figure bends over a table covered with maps and documents. General Hochner. He is unaware of the women, absorbed in calculations, muttering about troop movements and the inevitable collapse surrounding them. Liesel's mind races, She has memorized portions of these documents before, but here, she can glimpse more potential leverage, and yet also unparalleled danger. Every breath she takes could betray her. Every step could trigger discovery. Gretel hisses, "You have to decide. Now." Liesel nods. Her decision is immediate, instinctive. She slips forward, moving silently across the cold stone floor. Her hand hovers over a fallen document. This is more than information. It is proof of the Führer's failings, of orders that defy humanity itself. Liesel knows that possession of this knowledge is both her salvation and her curse. Hopner looks up suddenly, sensing something, and Liesel freezes. Their eyes meet. For a moment, the world narrows to two people in a bunker swallowed by fear and smoke. The general studies her, expression unreadable. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nods, as if acknowledging a silent pact. Liesel exhales, relief mixed with a surge of tension. She has gained a potential ally, but only just. Any misstep now, any misjudgment, could be fatal. The rumble of explosions grows louder, and the bunker trembles. Above, Berlin is collapsing, but below, the labyrinth of fear tightens. Liesel's mind spins with the implications of what she knows. Names, orders, secret meetings, knowledge that could topple lives or save them. She slips the documents beneath her coat, glancing at Gretel, whose wide eyes reflect a mix of fear and trust. Suddenly, Richter's voice echoes through the corridor, sharp and commanding. "Search the West Wing, now." Panic flares in Liesel's chest. Hopner looks toward the sound, tension twisting his face. Liesel realizes that their fragile alliance may be all that stands between her. Survival and exposure. Every second counts. Decisions must be made in silence, in shadows, with precision. As the two women retreat further into the tunnels, Liesel feels the weight of her choices press down like a physical force. Each step carries danger. Each breath is a gamble. Outside, the city burns. Inside, the bunker seethes with suspicion, paranoia, and the constant threat of discovery. Tonight, she will confront not only the enemy above, but the shadow of betrayal that follows every footstep in Hitler's inner circle. The bunker trembles again, louder this time, dust falling from the ceiling in tiny avalanche. Liesel presses herself against the wall, documents hidden beneath her coat, heart hammering like artillery above. The footsteps of officers echo through the corridors, Richter's voice barking orders. Time is collapsing around her, every second a razor edge between life and death. Ahead, she spots a narrow doorway leading to a rarely used communications room. The faint glow of lamps casts long, eerie shadows on the concrete walls. Liesel slips inside, dragging Gretel with her. Inside, radios hum faintly, static and coded messages vibrating through the air. She scans the room quickly, realizing that the documents in her hands are more valuable here than anywhere else. If she can access the transmissions, she might control what reaches the outside world, or at least shield herself from scrutiny. Suddenly, a door slams behind them. Richter steps into the room, eyes cold, calculating. "Vogel," he says, voice low and menacing. "You've been very busy." Liesel freezes. Every instinct screams danger, but her mind races, weighing options. She knows she cannot surrender these documents if they fall into the wrong hands. Countless lives will be destroyed. At the same time, a single false move could end her life here. Beneath the ruins of Berlin, General Hopner appears in the doorway behind Richter, his face taut, eyes darting between Liesel and the officer. A moment of silent calculation passes. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he says, "Let her speak. There's more at stake than loyalty tonight." Liesel swallows hard. The words are a lifeline and a test. She takes a cautious step forward, revealing the folded report, the weight of it almost physical in her hands. Richter's gaze sharpens, suspicion mingling with curiosity. Liesel's mind flashes through everything she has memorized: orders, names, secret meetings, the inner workings of Hitler's crumbling regime. She knows that this moment will determine not just her survival, but the fate of those around her. Every word must be chosen carefully, every glance calculated. One wrong move, one misjudged pause, and it will all end here. Outside, the distant roar of Allied bombers shakes the bunker, a grim reminder that the war outside mirrors the danger within. Liesel inhales slowly, shoulders squared despite the fear tightening her chest. The documents, her knowledge, and her courage are all she has. And as Richter steps closer, eyes narrowing, she understands the bitter truth of life in Hitler's inner circle. Survival depends not on strength alone, but on cunning, timing, and the willingness to confront impossible choices head-on. The bunker shakes violently, dust and debris falling from the ceiling as the distant thunder of Allied bombardment grows deafening. Liesel grips the documents tightly, feeling the weight of everything she has seen, memorized, and carried. Above, Berlin burns. Below, Hitler's inner circle teeters on the edge of chaos. Every breath feels like a gamble, every heartbeat a countdown. Oberst Richter steps closer, suspicion etched into his face, while General Hoepner watches silently, tension coiling around him like a predator ready to strike. Liesel's mind races. She knows that surrendering the documents means betrayal, while keeping them could mean death. She takes a deep breath, forcing her fear into control. These documents, they tell the truth, she says, voice steady but quiet. Truth that could save lives or destroy them if ignored. Richter's eyes narrow, a storm of suspicion and calculation. Hoepner leans slightly forward, evaluating, understanding, perhaps even trusting her instinctively. Liesel glances at Gretel, who nods slightly, silent support in the tense room. The choice is clear. She must act, or the shadows of the bunker will consume her. With careful movements, Liesel places the documents on the table between them, each page a testament to the lies, the cruelty, and the paranoia that have poisoned Hitler's inner circle. Richter hesitates, reaching for them, but Hoepner's hand stops him. Enough, he says quietly. The city is lost, the Führer's time is over. These truths, they matter more than loyalty now. The sound of explosions above grows closer, the bunker trembling under each impact. Liesel steps back, watching as the generals and officers scan the documents, tension etched on every face. Outside, Berlin's collapse mirrors the crumbling walls around them. The women's eyes, wide with fear and determination, reflect a single truth. Survival is no longer about hiding, but about choosing the right alliances, even in the shadows of tyranny. Suddenly, Richter's face hardens, suspicion replaced with grudging recognition. He nods, a silent acknowledgement of the danger they have all survived together. The room is tense, but for the first time, Liesel feels a glimmer of control. Knowledge has given her a weapon, stronger than fear and understanding that even in the heart of darkness, courage and truth can tip the balance. The bunker quakes violently one final time. Dust, smoke, and debris swirl through the corridors. Liesel and Gretel move toward a side exit, slipping into the tunnels as the inner circle is absorbed in the documents, the chaos providing cover. Each step is measured, each breath cautious, yet there is hope. Outside, the city may be in ruins, but below, in the shadows of Hitler's inner circle, a new power takes shape, the courage to survive, and the truth finally unhidden. Liesel pauses at the threshold of the exit, casting one last glance back at the crumbling walls and the faces she has come to know in fear and secrecy.